Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the fifth episode of the Consumer Social Podcast, the show where we talk with builders in the consumer social space about their successes, learnings, and failures. I'm your host, Jose, and today I'm here with Miquel. Miguel, thank you so much for joining us today. Why don't we start by you introducing yourself? Who are you? What have you been up to?
Thank you so much for having me. So I'm Miquel. I'm co-CEO and co-founder of Beavers, actually. And we are building what will hopefully be the next big Gen Z platform for social interactions, at least for the next decade.
Awesome, awesome. Sliding in the new name. So, what is your background and what inspired you to build your first social app?
So I think like every consumer founder, my background is kind of really doing a lot of things. I'm one of the third of the company. I'm not a programmer, so you can imagine the the pieces missing. Like Isaac and David, my two co-founders, are back end and front end, really really good at what they do. And what I contribute to the project is mostly like vision, designing the first gimmicks, the first loops, and the product itself, and growing it, putting people in it, like being the pied piper of people, like guiding towards the app and making them understand. Um, like I had a background. I'm 24 years old. Well, I will be 24 years old. So I've been always on networks. I've always like had a creative background. I started drawing, and I gained like 20,000 followers drawing on Instagram, and then I moved to creating memes. And for like 2 years, I was doing daily memes. You can imagine it's like a brain strength to create a daily meme that appeals to everyone who's following you. And by that, I gained like 250,000 followers on Instagram. Back then was like really, really a lot. And then I moved that to doing what I did for myself for other brands. So I created an agency focused on organic content and virality. It was the time where maybe you remember the Facebook filters came in. I realized it was like a big, big opportunity. And I made like a couple of three filters that went really, really, really viral. For example, like billions of views and hundreds of millions of users. And there was like,
Billions?
yeah. One was like, when you are going to die was like a gimmick that it was a random number and people were freaking out, right? So they recorded themselves and then posted in TikTok. And it was like all these celebrities from Kendall Jenner to Chiara Ferrani and like here in Spain went really massive. And it was like in 3 days that, and it made me realize, damn, it's truly powerful. Something I did at my home, it really touched the other side of the world. So that was one of the first points. I fell in love with consumer tech, and I always wished to have my own platform and my own rules. Maybe it makes sense. Um, I've always seeked like having this piece of land in the digital ecosystem. It's so obvious that you can create everything on the other's garden, but having your own garden where you can create everything you want to, I think it's special. And I think me as a social consumer founder, I'm seeking that.
Amazing. So somehow you went from drawing to doing memes to creating your own company to an app that was top number one, and number one in the
Yeah.
apps. And so two questions there. First of all, how did you do it? And second, how did it feel when you hit top one?
So to get to number one, it was hard the first time. We've done twice with the two apps, and it was mostly understanding what people felt or what we should tell them in order to download it and to register. Back in the days, the app wasn't good at all, right? Moments it was like the first attempt to do something big. We ended up like within a year registering almost 1 million users, but we had like a lower retention. We made a lot of mistakes, typical first time founders of social products that you read on Twitter and you say, this is ain't going to happen to me, right? Because I'm better than them. And then it happens the same thing
You
over
always
again,
think you're
right?
different until you fall in the exact same traps.
Exactly. So right now I'm pivoting to a thread boy, putting what I've learned, right? And it's the same exact messages as the other one. So we made all the mistakes that you can make, right? But we did
What
something
are
right.
what are some of those? Sorry to interrupt. For
So
the
one
people who
of
haven't
the,
made them yet.
So I can, for example, like five that come up on the top of my mind. For example, first one is like building big teams when you don't need to, scaling so fast that the product doesn't need it. If you haven't found product market fit, it's not a job for someone who's not a founder to find it, right? First find them. It's so easy to make a lot of noise with a lot of people that aren't truly aligned with the vision. So keep teams smaller. Small teams win all the time in these first steps. Think don't build two features. It's like looking back, it's so easy to see it, but it's like failed marriages, right? So if the couple doesn't work, they'll have a baby and think it will fix everything, right? Because if the minimal link doesn't work, three will make it easier, right? So if the gimmick of the app is not working, why a second feature should work, right? It's complicated for the end user and it's really tricky to do it. So keep it small. If it doesn't work, pivot until it works, then build up on that. And the third one, I would say, like, appeal to someone, right? You don't have to speak to everybody at the beginning. I know everyone who's in the social spectrum desires to have a billion people using daily our platform, but it's something that you have to achieve over a decade. So don't expect to happen on the first 24 hours. So you start small and then climb up the ladder. I think we've always made this mistake, and I think from hitting it, we are learning and moving towards that.
Yeah, those I've made those. As you're saying them, I'm like, yep, check, check, check. And so you were you're trying to go for how it felt to put an app and number one on the app store, and then I cut you off there.
So it was like it's something that people cannot take away from you. Like I've reached the one on my country, so for a week I was the most downloaded app on my country. I think that's something amazing to have it. It's like it's. I'm not a musician. I've always felt like if I was good at music, it must be the best feeling ever to be on a concert and do a performer. As a person who does apps, hitting number one is what I felt it would be like more similar to being number one in the Spotify charts, for example. So I think it's something. But then again, when you reach, then you want to reach other countries tops, right? So it's like a never-ending story, and I think it's uh, good and it's bad at the same time. One of the things that we've learned over the past months is to celebrate these little victories, right? Back then, we were like in a sprint all the time. Like we have to do it faster than the competition, and we look around and was like, what competition, right? We are only competing against ourselves. So it was like getting to a point. It was too stressful to even celebrate those little things that make and motivate you to keep going to the next objective. So I think one of all the also another learning from previous occasions is to celebrate those little things. I think that keeps us spirit on the team and even to yourself, right? At the end of the day, this is a long race, and keep up and take some good points. By the way,
Yeah, because then you have to manage your motivation, the team's motivation. You have to keep on developing the product, doing acquisition at the same time, dealing with retention. It can be a lot.
exactly.
So you are the master of user acquisition. Um, Walk me through how you think about user acquisition for a social app.
So we've always worked as the exec. I will always say like a social product is the only kind of product that can advertise themselves in the competition's products, right? You cannot imagine Pepsi doing ads on Coca-Cola, right? Because it's impossible. But I can do ads on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, TikTok, etc. So there are all kinds of layers of already distribution ways to get to those people. And when you are developing your own network, you understand what the creator of a network expects you from a user to get hooked on, right? So when you develop this kind of mindset, you know what the platform expects from you as a good user, and distribute your content far better than a normal user. So first of all, I try to understand what the platform wants from me. Then I try to understand what the people wants from another creator, right? What's happening in the world? What's happening in my niche? What's happening in things that are making sense or can appeal or I can bring to my product? And then the third one and the most important, what I want from the users, right? To be on my platform and to understand the product. So there's always like this triangle of success to get what people, what the platform I'm advertising wants from me, what people on that platform want from other creators, and what I want from both of the sides, right? So we've always done organic content and creator based content, and mostly of it on TikTok. I'm sure you've seen like past year, 40% of new social apps that climb on the ladder was powered by TikTok. I think we have to at least while it lasts, right? Use TikTok until it gets, I don't know, it would get banned, but it looks like it. We have to use it and extract the maximum use out of it. So TikTok is like for the first time a global leveraged network that you can go anywhere in the world. The only barrier is language, right? So if I do something in Spanish, I can get to almost 450 million users that speak Spanish. And that never happened before. So my chance to do a viral video and succeeding with that viral video, it should encompass a year worked previously on Instagram. So I craft those little videos, like these 27-second videos that have everything that should have a perfectly made ad on the Super Bowl. So if that video goes viral, I will have at least 100K downloads within 48 hours, right? If the product is good enough, it's enough to start the fire and never stop, right? We will leverage on other ways to get there, right? Creators and paid media, whatever, right? But it's like the first spark of social products that they would never had the chance prior to TikTok. TikTok is bringing a new ways to create those products, and I think we are out searching and we are feeling more products than ever because TikTok enabled those to at least to spark more quicker than ever before. So we tend to use those little gimmicks to get to the million people as we possibly do.
Okay, so it's mostly TikTok, and then thinking about your ad, your content as a product itself with three types of stakeholders and what they want from each other. How do you balance that? Like in practical terms, how do you do what the platform wants and at the same time what the user wants to see at the same time what you want? Because it's easy to do one of those things. It is very complex to do the three of them at the same time. How do you go about it?
So, for example, I with the agency, I was working with mostly musical labels. Universal Music was one of those, and also banks and politicians. Right. So it was like kind of a trichotomy that everyone had different interests. But for example, music labels pays a lot of money to TikTok because they push a button and that song that it's newly released, everything that will be attached to that song gets more views. Right. But that's inherently because labels have a deal with TikTok. So if it's like a lottery and you have to buy maximum tickets to the virality, right? So one ticket, for example, is the songs, right? New releases will have more chances because labels are co-paying me my campaign, right? Because they want the songs to go there. Um, a song is like a rocket ship if you tend to like get early. For example, if it's 10K videos or less, this song might reach to a million videos. If you get to that sweet spot, it's like buying Shiba Inu early, right? It skyrockets you to the moon. This is one thing. The other thing, like platforms, TikTok tends to a more longer videos, right? So the sweet spot is like 23 to 32 seconds because I can explain my whole product. I can put like intro, whatever happens, and then a good closing so people looked in. This is like happening and staying happy with the platform. Then what users wanted, right? Users are seeking what they felt familiar with. The algorithm of TikTok is really sticky. So if they see something that's trending, everything that reminds of that trend, they will tend to look again, and TikTok will recommend again because they want you to stay longer. So I tend to appropriate those things that are people talking. For example, if it was like Spider-Man premiere, I would do something related to Spider-Man and direct that attention towards my product. How? This is creativity. This is what the third part begins, and it's really difficult. How I can mix all these things into a piece that it's amazing to see it, and people are hooked because they feel like they are watching a trend. They stay because the video is well edited, and the platform recommends it because have everything to recommend, and then stay because they understood the product and understood the call to action, right? So if everything is done in order, for example, we've gained over almost 40 million organic views in different languages, in different accounts from zero followers, and with like all these million of downloads, all there were like at a cost zero. And I think that for a starting a startup is really needed to have it because um, Didagli, who is one of the like here in Barcelona, a head figure in the consumer space investors, he said to me, "It's like when you are trying to build something, it's like a baseball, right? The many times you hit the baseball, and the more times you can hit the baseball, is the better you will get. So if you have the tools to get enough times the baseball, you'll get better than someone that only hit it once. So having this ability to grow at a cost zero, it gives you a certain advantage that someone who's paying like €1,000 for every 100K downloads doesn't will not have. So I think having the tools to acquire free is something you need to if you want to build the next platform.
And so, in terms of acquiring free, when you say acquire free, so do you create, edit, and record the videos yourself? Do you work with micro influencers that might even do it for free or for something other than money? Whoa, how does it work?
There's these two kinds of waves that if you can align perfectly, it's like what it's organic virality, right? Which it you create this FOMO in TikTok that everyone is talking about your product. That's what you need to be, and if it happens, it's magic, right? So most part we do our organic content, we spark the fire, and then we leverage that wave with content creators, which we manage and created like little system to analyze which are the best creators, right? There's like a series of tips, but the podcast will get a lot longer. If anyone wants this detailed list, I can send it to them because we like develop the method to really catch on those profiles and how money should we pay to get like a good trade offer on those views and the real influence they have, because we tend to go with people that are lesser than 100K followers, and in TikTok it's very volatile, so we have to be really locked in to catch on those profiles that can grow really fast.
Okay, so you've systematized the whole thing essentially with data.
Exactly. But it's like we haven't managed to get it into a SaaS. We could build that and I'm sure we can solve it. But it's more like a gut feeling of created over the years, right? Being a creator myself, I can identify which one has a real influence with how he interacts with the people and how he can like build muscle up on top. And because we are a new brand, we haven't done like long-term deals, but as soon as we can do it, we can catch I'm not going to say the next Mr. Beast, but if we can catch someone really quickly and really soon on this career, you can grow with them. And with TikTok, it's far easier than ever before because on YouTube, you tend to let's say, create a career upon 3 to 5 years. In TikTok, you can create it upon 2 months. So the curve of growing has really shortened over time. So we can really manage on that.
And for most people, most even growth hackers out there, they're used to Facebook, they're used to Instagram, they're used to Reddit. How do you think differently of TikTok and other ways of growing out there, other social medias you can grow in?
So I think that TikTok really break all the things, and that's one of the reasons we are trying to build Vibras, right? We feel there's a lack of social in social media. All the things that are shifting in towards short format content, and it's not anymore TikTok that is different. It's like the format has changed a lot, and the way they can hook you is not based on relationship, is rather than based on the greatness of the content they are showing you, right? So when TikTok appears, all the platforms tend to move to content, even Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, we've seen. And it's the format that wins over all the social networks rather than one of those. TikTok is because it's the one that we are used to it and we know the tricks, but Reels also works. Like we have like 3, 4 videos that get more than 5 million views for free, but there are little twists on there. And I think if you can create those pieces of content, if it works in one, it will work in another one. That's how not different the platforms are at the end of the day, right? So there's a really they are tending to look all the same.
Okay. And you mentioned several times when talking about the content, you mentioned the initial hook. So the initial hook, to me at least, it feels almost like an art form. It's like the perfect thumbnail, the perfect video title, the perfect essay title, the perfect tweet. And on TikTok, it's usually the first 2 seconds, the first second. How do you go about crafting those?
So it's funny because at the beginning of our project, we went to a house and we stayed like a week building there, and we created a lot of content there, and it resembled a lot like the beginning of the social network, and it's like an idealistic situation that everyone has in mind, like this early stage of successful businesses, and I tended to appeal into the same feeling. So I edited those videos, and it has something there that I don't know how to explain it. But every video that we've done using those clips in the first 2 3 seconds, every video, it's in English, in Spanish, from TikTok to Reels, it works, right? It works like magic. So I might not have the answer, but um, it has to be something there. At least it has to be a person. Mostly in general, TikTok premiates people, real people. So it has to be something happening that the user want to be part of and doesn't understand it yet for the first 2 seconds, but captivates them to be there present and to uh, have the will to know more about the situation is going on. So I think those are the best hooks in a long term retention, like 20 to 30 second videos.
Okay, so people there and then just feeling that there's something they're developing the gut feeling. So you have that gut feeling because you've been doing it for a while. You have the data to go through it, or at least the mental data. How does someone new get into it? So let's say I'm gonna do TikToks now for the first time, where I wanna publish my app and do TikToks about it for the first time today. What should I do?
First of all, if it's not TikTok or it's not the person, it's the content that works. So first of all, go and search for hashtag or competition, a competition that did it well previously. Watch those videos and recreate them. Right, that's it. For the first time, if something worked, it should work again if posted enough times and in enough time zones and different sounds and twisting a little bit. But if something worked, it tend to work again. Uh, I don't know. It passed a year from the original video. It might not work, but it tends to work. So I would suggest you to see how the videos they did it, how they performed, and how they did the hooks and recreate it. We are in the era of I was talking like 2 months ago with Hunter, one of the founders of NGL, and he
Yeah,
said
he he agreed to be on the podcast, by the way, so he might be on one of the next episodes.
so salutations from the past. And he said something really cool. He's like creating a social app is like jazz, like improving and taking pieces from other apps and creating this perfect loop and improvising. And I think that it's the same thing. Like building this perfect TikTok is getting apart from there. I like this hook. I put it there, and I put the pitch of my app in there. And when you add this little sauce that it's your own brand, this is when you get distinct from the rest. And I think this is what truly does the differentiation between all the rest of the videos.
So just going through repetition, 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 just
Yes.
putting in the reps. And so you built moments, then you pivoted into Vibers now. This, as and you were saying before, that social media is getting less social to you. This means you have a trend in mind. So, what does the future of social media look like to you? What does the future of social consumer social look like?
So this all starts like I've, I've been even I'm quite young. I've been on networks for like almost 10 years. Been an active creator, been an active distribution, and learning how people create content on a global level. And once in the agency, I was pitching to the advertisers like social networks are not networks anymore; they are content platforms, right? And while I was pitching there, I realized like if those are moving. Where are the true social players, right? Something's shifting so hard that someone like the next Facebook should appear upon these next 2 years, right? So if someone is willing to build that, at least I have a shot at that, right? Because the opportunity is so big that I will regret for the rest of my life, at least not taking a swing at it, right? So it started like 2.5 years ago, starting to see this trend of TikTok with will really crashed up on and today on it's more evident than ever that something is shifting. And there are three I think there are three key pillars. One of those is like generational gap. Gen Z is different than all the generations before, not due to we are young, due to we grew up with internet, right? We have a leveraged relationship with internet that no other generation ever had. Like so that changed a lot of things, and we are seeing that uh, me as part of the generation, and maybe it happens to you, we are tired of what is already on there. We feel like there's something true to be there, and I think Gen Z Alpha, which are growing, they don't have it yet. For example, millennials could grow on Facebook and create their reality network on a digital space. It was nice. Then we pivoted to Instagram. We created our networks there. But younger generations that are growing up, they cannot anymore because those platforms are social content purely, right? They are not meant to build these social structures. And that's something social. It's inherent to the people. It's inherent to the humanity. So, also we see those trends of young people tending to not believe in anything rather than not even in religion, patriotism. It's like if younger generations are growing up to losing faith in everything, at least maybe one of the key factors of a strength is to learn to rely on one another, right? So we have to develop that kind of platform that gives this upcoming generation a way to communicate different what's existing. And I think different means better, right? You said mistakes are made in the past, improvements are seeking what went wrong and try to do it right. We've been experiencing the first wave and the second wave of consumer. We can do better. I think we can be building meaningful things and tend to not repeat the failures that been on the past. And the other part is it has to be we were talking the other day and you said like bringing back fun to the internet, right? Everything is looking the same, everything is minimal, everything is functional. Not everything has to be functional, right? We are like we could be having fun while we are connecting, and I think bringing back good vibes, or at least being fun. It's something that lacks on the solid basis of these actual networks, and I think that's something that has to be put on a table again, right? And algorithms can make anything, right? They can make you hooked. They've learned that if you are mad, you stay longer, you engage longer, you post more comments. But they are putting this feeling upon the on the usage. Maybe we can put a good feeling upon the users, even it means sacrificing a little bit of time and an average session spent on the app. But I think bringing back good vibes is one of the key factors and what we are seeking with Vibras.
Bringing back good vibes. I love that. So putting my cynicist hat on, what makes you believe that we can do that? For example, and we talked about it before, there are mistakes that every first time consumer social founder makes. And then you come along and you're like, no, I'm going to do it differently. And then you fall right back into the same thing. How can we not do that? So let's say Vibers now grows to a million, 10 million, 100 million users, which I know it will. How can you ensure that you're not making the same mistakes?
I think starting the when you put the foundational structure of a network, you kind of set a tone for people and what people expect from your platform, right? So um, using certain type of communication or certain values of the platform set the tone to upcoming users and the way they will interact. So at the end, what you are training is the users and the people that will use that platform every day to really advise you when you go wrong, right? So you are training them to fix when you make wrong decisions. And I think that that's why it's so important, the foundational level, to set the right tone or the vibe you want it to be the platform for the next 5 years. I think with Be Real, they did it great, right? That they people expect the thing, and when they tend to move that angle, people shouted at them, right? So this is supposed to be that way. For example, today they launched like the extra Be Real post 2 times a day, and I've reading like a lot of comments saying, so it's not anymore like stay in the moment and living in the moment. You are trying me to post twice a day now. So it's like these little things that if you train an audience and they repeat this gimmick every day, they will shout at you when you make something wrong. And I think with the lore of the brand and what you are trying to say, if you say and repeat enough times on the beginning, it will help you on 5, 10 years to be not lose touch with the ground.
I love that. So you believe not in making all the right decisions, but in building the ground and educating your users so that they ensure that you make the right decisions.
Exactly. At
That's
the
a
end
good
of the day,
approach.
it's like you will have millions of people using it daily basis. I won't have the time to use it, the product, if it's so successful, right? So at least those who are enjoying it daily, they will have to teach me what they. At least my approach, if it will be good or bad receiving, because at the end of the day, they are the ones who are using it. So at least listen to them, right?
And we are just a little over our time here. Let's do one last question, closing on a positive note. What is one moment of the journey so far that you're really proud of?
Well, I think one of the times like it was you get so frustrated when things don't went right, right? You've imagined that feature. Like let's go back in time. If I imagine something will work out and we work for 3 months on that feature and I've designed it, I've made the team go on that direction and really bet on that feature, saying this will work, and then the team made all the effort. The feature is deployed. Now it's my turn to make people go in the app, right? So it's like everything. I have to do it by myself. Like put the people out there on our app, and it goes in a day, and it doesn't work. It goes 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, and then the longer it lasts, is like the sicker you feel and the frustrated you feel, and like there's a little bit of imposter syndrome growing there. And then it was the time when we first launched globally Moments, and like 5 days after we hit our first viral video in English, it get to 11 million views. We were charting like in 50 countries. And those first hours, I woke up and there were like 50K views on the TikTok. I posted like at 3 a.m. in LA time from Barcelona with two phones using VPN. So it was like, this video, I shouldn't post it because I was tired as hell, right? But that's it. Look, post it, and then I woke up the next morning, and as I wake up I was like jumping, and it really felt like a relief after a long time, a lot of months. uh, like, well, we can do it, right? Maybe we are in a good path, we are in a good track. I think those were one of the moments that really felt like we can, maybe we can have a chance to swing
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that glimpse of hope.
ahead.
So, Miel, we're going to close this now. Thank you so much for the amazing, honestly amazing episode. Where can people find you and your work?
So you can find me as Bibras anywhere on TikTok. We are over there on LinkedIn too, and on a more personal level on Twitter, Miquel Castan. It's called like Castani. People always pronounce it wrong, or even in LinkedIn. Not like
I'll
a
put
lot
the
of
links on
active.
Substack.
Okay, perfect. And I tend to respond faster. So if anyone wants to reach out, feel free, and really welcome.
Okay. Thank you, Miguel. For everyone still listening, thank you so much for tuning in to the fifth episode of the Consumer Social Podcast. I'll see you on the next one.